There's a process of becoming a real business that has a lot of steps that need to be taken. And the cool thing is, once you start taking these steps, so much of your life becomes less stressful. It becomes more comfortable because you know you're complying with like government requirements and things like that. And so I suggest that you take these steps as quickly as you can. Now, I also realize that when you're just getting started and that first year you make like $2,000 in sales, maybe you don't do all of these, but I strongly suggest you start doing these as quickly as possible because it basically just makes your life easier. So let me take you through several financial things that are important in this process of creating a real business. So, number one, you need to start officially paying yourself. Now, I strongly suggest that you make that a salary, but it also could be wages. So if your cash flow is inconsistent, you may not be quite ready to say, hey, I'm paying myself X $1,000 a month. And you instead say, okay, I'm going to pay myself a wage that will probably translate to that, but then can vary a little bit accordingly. But I suggest you start paying yourself, and I suggest you run it through a payroll service. So I use QuickBooks Online. There's a whole bunch of them out there. There's some that take care of everything for you. As you do this, what it does is, like QuickBooks Online actually does a lot of the reporting for you. It shows you the deadlines. It shows you need to pay them this much on such and such a date. It files all the forms for you automatically and everything. And so I strongly recommend it. It's not much. It's like $37 a month. And so it's clearly worth it to do. I also suggest in this process that you do step number 2, which is start paying estimated taxes. Those of you who understand what I just said know why I just sighed. So estimated taxes. In the United States, there's this rule in the tax code that says if at the end of the year you haven't had enough withheld or paid into your tax account and you need to pay them a big payment later on, you have to pay interest and penalties on that amount. What the government is trying to do is they're trying to get you to pay as you go throughout the year. Estimated taxes do that. So once a quarter, you estimate, here's how much I think I would owe on taxes for this quarter, and you send them the difference between what you've actually paid, like is what's been withheld as part of your salary or your wages, and that amount, and you send them that amount each quarter during the year. It's a royal pain. I absolutely hate doing it, but it's a good thing to do because it saves you saves you those taxes and penalties and interest payments when you actually pay your taxes later on. This is one of the things that indicates that a business is growing up when you start paying estimated taxes. Number 3, it is astounding to me how many companies can't create an invoice. They have this Excel spreadsheet or something like that does this. It's so easy. If you have something like a QuickBooks Online, to just go to their invoices tab and write an invoice, you can do it in 2 minutes and it's done. I strongly suggest you come up with some way of being able to create and send invoices. Number 4, track your spending. And so you're actually keeping track of every cent you spend in your business throughout the year, and you regularly are updating that. And so, and the beauty of something like QuickBooks Online, and I realize I sound like I'm a big fan of them. Actually, I am. But a service like that, whether it's QuickBooks Online or something like that, you attach it to your bank account and it automatically feeds all that in, and it guesses at what it thinks that amount should be, not the amount, but the category of it. And so it makes it so much easier than it used to be to do this. I strongly recommend you do that and never go more than 45 days without balancing your books. Number 5, real life financial reporting. So in this, there's a series of reports that businesses run. One of them is called a profit and loss statement. We call it a P&L. The other one is your balance sheet. I suggest you get to the point every month where you lock down your books. In other words, everything's in there for the last month and you run that report so you know where you are tracking. Are you actually making money or not? That enables you early on in the year to cut expenses so that you can make a profit throughout the year. But you can't do that without the regular tracking of your accounts and all your finances. And you can't do that without regular reporting. But literally, QuickBooks takes me, my team, whoever's doing it, an hour to 2 hours a month. You can hire a bookkeeper to do this if you want, but I strongly suggest you have something that is doing this. Number 6, you need to have business bank accounts. There is a concept in the tax code called intermingling of funds. That's a no-no. You never want business funds to come into your bank, into your personal account, and you never want personal expenditures to come out of your business account. They're separate animals. You are personally an entity. Your business is an entity. They need to spend money separately. So if you need to get money out of your business so you can pay your personal bills, you've got to write yourself another paycheck so that you can do that. And that paycheck will have taxes withheld. And so you stay up on taxes throughout the year. And so that you can end up being compliant with the law. So you need to create these business bank accounts and have them be totally separate. You're going to need to deal with the fact that banks love business accounts because they can charge more. And so you're going to need to have a business checking, a business savings, and some kind of a business credit card, debit card, whatever, to be able to do business in today's world. There are places that you can literally get all 3 of those accounts for free. So don't just go to your local bank and they say you have to have a $5,000 minimum and you're going to pay $15 a month for this and $20 a month for that and all that stuff. Go look. There are other better banks out there. There's some online banks, by the way, that are specifically designed to do this very thing. They're designed for 2022 to be able to do business banking and everything's free. And so strongly recommend you consider that or get a local bank that does that. Number 6, get a tax accountant. Notice I didn't say get an accountant. Most of us don't need an accountant at, very frankly, our level of business right now. But you need a tax accountant because a tax accountant can oftentimes see things in your business and save you a bunch of money. One of the things that I insist my tax accountant does is every year they have a meeting with me where I say, how can I cut my taxes for next year? Legally, ethically, but I want you to tell me, looking at my books, the way I'm doing business right now, what can I change to save money on my taxes next year? That's a very, very important meeting you need to have every year. Number 7, monthly reporting. So I mentioned this as I talked about doing the financial reporting. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm saying on a certain day, the 10th of the month, you're going to have everything done in your business. Everything's in there from last month and the prior months. And so you're able to get your monthly P&L, your balance sheet, and be able to look at them and have as a standard meeting in your business. Once a month, you have a meeting where you just talk about the finances. That's what's happening in that monthly reporting meeting. Strongly suggest you do that. In order to be able to do that, you need to balance your accounts. So you need to actually go get your online statements and check that everything was properly input and check that in your accounts. And then you need to run your P&L and your balance sheet so that you can be able to have the information necessary to hold that meeting. Notice I said, this is what happens as you grow up financially as a business. You're adding these capabilities. Number 8, now we're starting to get into a little bit tougher when you're just getting started, reserve accounts. So a reserve account is an account that enables you to, throughout the year, you've got a big payment coming on December 15th, and it's going to be $3,600. All right. You need to be putting $300 into an account every month so that you don't have to freak out on December 15th because you don't have $3,600 laying around to be able to pay that bill. A reserve account enables you to flatten your spending across the year. Even though you haven't actually paid the bill, you put it into an account that's locked down. You don't allow yourself to get to that account. And I say figuratively locked down. You put it in there so that the money is there. You take basically all your annual expenses, you divide them by 12, and this is how much money needs to go into that account every month so that you can then go into that account and write checks on that account or pay bills on that account to take care of it. That alone will significantly reduce your stress because you just know that the money is always there. And number 9, build a reserve. I strongly suggest you build at least, start with a 1-month reserve. It's called, figure out how much you normally spend in a month in terms of paying all your bills, your salary to yourself, everything. And that amount needs to be in an account so that if COVID came along and wiped you out for a month, you had everything you needed to be able to pay that bill. Then expand that to 3 months, then expand it to 6 months. Eventually, I'd like you to have at least a year of your operating expenses in a reserve account so that you know that worst comes to worst. I got hit by a bus. Literally, this happened to my aunt. She got hit by a truck, I can't remember. And she was literally in bed for like a month and a half. This enables you, if that kind of thing happens, you've got the funds to be able to pay for things. Then number 10, and notice this is number 10, not number 1, create the right entity. So many people say, I'm starting a business. I need to know, do I have an LLC? Do I have a corporation? What do I do it? Somewhere in the process, not in the very early days, you need to create a right entity. You're going to have to get some counsel on that, what kind of entity is correct for you, and then build it. And then you've got to do what's called compliance on that. So if you've got a corporation, you need to have regular board of directors meetings where you make decisions and you write it down in a book and you sign it that shows that you did it so that you're legally accepted as a business. And as part of that compliance, there's some things you'll probably have to register with the state once a year, send them a statement that says that you're still alive and that this is how the shareholders are and everything else like that. So you got to go figure all that out. As I said, it's part of growing up as a business. Now, there are 2 tools that I'm going to give you that I think will help you considerably in this. The first one is a book, a wonderful, wonderful book called Profit First. I strongly recommend that you read this and you start implementing as much of it as you can. Ideally, implement everything. If you can't implement everything, take the accounts of the concept of the reserve accounts and the profit accounts and apply that in your business at least. The second thing is a tool like QuickBooks. It just makes life so much easier, cheaper, and less stressful. Okay, bunch of financial things. If you're just getting started in your business, if you're like me and really don't like the details, I mean, every time I'm doing this stuff, I feel like, wait a minute, I'm wasting a bunch of time so that the government can take some more money out of my pocket. And it's not my favorite thing to do, but you got to do it anyway. Or somebody's got to do it in your behalf. It's time for you as a company to grow up. I strongly suggest you grow up, do as many of these 10 things as you can in this year, and then do the rest of them next year. Ideally, do all of them. That's the ideal case. Now, notice I didn't take you into really complex things. I didn't take you into cash flow analysis. I didn't take you into a bunch of other concepts that you're going to need as you start getting some employees, as you start getting bigger and fancier, legal counsel, all those things. But these are some of the minimum things that a small business needs to do to financially grow up. What's your experience with all this? Love it? Hate it? Wish it would just go away? We all do, but it's still important. Let me know what I've missed, what you should still be doing. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.